Hey, Stratman here. Just going to give you a bit of a rundown on my experience with trading and some of the tools that you might be able to use to improve your trading. I've spent since 2005 been involved in trading. I've lost a reasonable amount of money, around 25k. That's based on the accounts that I've blown, the subscription services that I've paid for, EAs I've paid for, you name it, I've tried it. And I think there'll be a lot of you out there who are watching this video who will just say, yeah, I've been there, done that. Well, since I've got involved in programming for MetaTrader, now just a bit of history there. I've been a programmer since I was 14 or 15 years old, quite passionate about it right from school. I was programming mainframes back then, and it's 30 years later. I'm 43 now, and so I've got a wealth of experience in programming. And this year I decided to really concentrate a bit on programming for the Forex industry. Seeming I'd spent so much time in it, I thought I'd really knuckle down and figure out the nuts and bolts of what goes on. And I have to say that while I've been programming some of the free things I've done for the Forex Factory threads, like the mini charts and some other input I've put in there, I've actually discovered that trading Forex is quite difficult, but there are just a few basic key things that one needs to know. And I think people overcomplicate things so much when they don't need to be. And I'm thinking about this current strategy that I'm using. I know someone that charges around $5,000 to be able to get on board with his site and use the basics of this strategy, and I think that's just incredible. I also worry about all the people out there who promote strategies and EAs and whatever, and you never see their live accounts, their own personal live accounts. And I'd be saying, if you never see their live account, are they really making tons of money off those strategies and systems and things? Are we getting scammed? I'll tell you what, I've put a bit of money into that stuff and I really haven't got anything better out of it. Anyway, enough going on about that kind of stuff. Like I said, there's a few basic things that we need to know about Forex really to get ourselves on the winning side. Most of it's already out there. I want to try and summarize it and get it all together for you guys. I haven't been trading successfully for that long, but I certainly have turned the tide. You can read about me on the THV thread at Forex Factory. Anyway, talking about our dashboard here, which is one of the huge helps for me, is most people in Forex know that there's 5 trading days to the week, Monday to Friday. It starts in the Asian area of the world each day, goes through to the UK area, and then through to the New York or US markets. And so that happens every day, 5 days out of the week. Fantastic, but we probably misunderstand a little bit about when a day starts, when a day ends. Basically, each trading day is really 25 hours long. People probably don't realize that. At the moment, it's 25 hours long if I take into account daylight saving and things like that are in different countries. So the trading day starts in New Zealand, and then and there's the GMT times here showing what's going on. At the moment, we can see, if you can see it highlighted, I'm showing that the New Zealand and Australia, which is Wellington and Sydney, are the cities. They are the 2 markets that are currently open right now. I can see the time in each of those markets. If we have a look at the Asian session, which is the New Zealand, Australia, Japan and Hong Kong, those are the markets that are open during that time. But what one forgets is that there is an overlap between those Asian markets. Each of those overlap each other, and they overlap the UK session, which is the Europe and United Kingdom, and also there's an overlap to the States. In fact, at the end of the 25-hour cycle, there is an overlap of 1 hour of the US closing and the New Zealand opening. So this information is actually very useful for your trading, because a lot of people are aware that we look for the range of the market for any one day, and down here I do have that. If we disregard everything else, we can see that today, since the open of New Zealand, there's been 19 pips movement on the Euro USD. Yesterday we had 148 pips for the full 25-hour session, and last week there was 127 pips average per day, well, over the last week that is, and over the last month we've had 111 pips average per day. So it is a good heads up on what's going on during the day. But one thing that when you've got 148 pips or 200 pips appearing here, you don't really know how much more of the market is left to go unless you really know what's been going on in each session. Because I can tell you that yesterday we had already done 106 pips during the Japan session, and that still allows us to do our average for the Hong Kong session and the Europe and UK session. Look, we did 75 pips yesterday, even though 106 pips is very close to the 111 for the whole day. The Europe and UK session still did 75. So this is a good heads up on what we can expect. So today we've done 19 pips in the New Zealand session. Australian session's open, so it's open at the same time as the New Zealand. We've done 6 pips so far on this one, and I'm waiting for the other sessions to open to see how many pips they do. This total down here is not actually the total of all of these added together, it's the total movement for the full day for that currency. The other thing that we've got here is we've got the time and date for each country there. Over here I've got the open and close, and this is displayed of the market, each market and each country, and it's displayed in your own time zone. So for me, I'm New Zealand time zone, so I'm seeing the New Zealand opens at 10 o'clock, and I'm seeing that the US opens at 2 o'clock in the morning and finishes at 11 o'clock in the morning. All really good information. What else does this system, or does this dashboard show you? Well, I like to know the number of pips away from the open. I also like to know how many pips are away from a simple moving average, the 20 period one. We're right on the 20 period moving average, and that tells me something about what's happening with price at the moment. It means there's a consolidation to me. I also want to know something about fractals, and so if we have a look, I draw the fractals on the 15-minute time frame because that's what I trade. Looking a bit ugly on this picture here, but if I just, because I've made this quite small so that I can show you without having high resolution, making the YouTube video really slow. What I want to know is, I want to know the distance from here to the last swing low, which is that fractal, and I want to know the distance to the last swing high. I also want to know the distance of the last swing that occurred. So that's what these figures down here are showing me. And these are very important when we look at the basic fundamentals of the market. You know, the way the market moves. These figures will tell you a wealth of information. So to the last low swing, fractal 17 pips, to the last high is 3, the last full swing was 20, pips to open 4. Obviously we've got the current price and we've got the spread. The other thing this dashboard does for us is it actually marks out for us the current sessions. I've got the New Zealand, and I've got the New Zealand is in red, so that's where it started, that's where it is now. We've got the Australian session. Yesterday's US session was this distance from here all the way to here, so this is what happened during the US session. We go back down to the indicator and we see that. So I think this is a really good thing for understanding what's going on with the market. There's a couple of things with moving averages and so on, but and there's a little bit more to do with some other indicators that I have that I use for my current strategy. But the main thing about this whole deal with Forex is understanding a bit about what goes on in each market, the Asian session and its breakout into its appropriate things, and the London and the New York. So if this chart was on a much bigger scale, 1920 by 1200, it would show a lot more detail here and you'd see really what's going on. But anyway, that's me, and we'll catch you later.